You are tuned to ARP on the Accelerated Radio Network. It's 12 noon, and it's time to have lunch. Lunch with the Finance Bunch. Lunch with the Finance Bunch. Lunch with the Finance Bunch. Bringing money talk you can understand. And now here's your host, Miss Charlene.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Miss Charlene, and you're having lunch with the Finance Bunch. Today, I have a special guest in the studio with me, and today is a very important interview for me. I'm in the studio with Miss Janet Kelly. She's Executive Director for Sanctuary of Hope. Now, we've been talking about, how do we create wealth? How do we maintain wealth? A part of creating and maintaining wealth is to support nonprofit organizations that are on the street. They are out there, they're helping our youth so that they find a position for themselves in what we call our lifestyle. And so they can find this space for themselves. And today, talking to Janet Kelly, I think we're going to have some insight as to her approach to nonprofit and what she's doing, because she's doing some great things. Janet, what is the Sanctuary of Hope?
Well, Sanctuary of Hope is a housing and education stabilization program for transition age youth between the ages of 16 and 25 who are homeless, at risk, and that come from the foster care or child welfare system.
Okay, so you and I had this conversation, and I think a lot of listeners, and maybe I'm the naive one, but I think a lot of people in general don't understand what it means to be emancipated from the foster care system. What exactly does that mean?
So normally when a young person enters into what we call the child welfare system, whether that's foster care or probation, they're considered basically to be ward of the court. So at a point in their life, whether they're at the age of 16 or 18, they are what we term emancipated or aged out of the foster care system. And so once they have aged out of that system, they're pretty much on their own.
Financially, everything. They're just out on their own. They don't have a support system. They don't have a housing to go to, a job to go to. In most cases, they're just literally on the street on their own.
Absolutely. And for many of them, their 18th birthday is the day of interpretation, because it's determining where they are going to go next. And if there isn't a housing plan or a housing placement in place, many of them will become homeless. And recent studies that were done by the Conrad Hilton Foundation basically said that 65% of youth who exit out of or age out of the foster care or child welfare system become homeless.
And when we talk about homeless youth, now we're going into a whole other direction, because we're talking about, they have to figure out how to feed themselves, how to house themselves. So they start compromising, in my opinion. If they don't have a plan in place, then here's where the compromise starts. So a lot of them wind up getting themselves into trouble, like by going to jail, prostitution, living their lives, this prostitution and slavery thing that we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. All of these things they become susceptible to, because I don't think the general public understands how crucial and critical it is that we do something about these youth, because they're between 18 and 25. That's a very vulnerable age, very vulnerable. So I applaud you for recognizing the need and trying to do something about it. What's the motivation behind providing your services? What's your motivation?
My major motivation, besides my faith, is ensuring that our young people actually become stable and have a safe transition into adulthood. I mean, one of the major things that really was the catalyst for me for helping these young people is that, one, many of them were ending up in an adult homeless system shelter environment. The average age of an adult that goes into the homeless service, I would say homeless service industry, is 40.
Wow.
That system isn't designed for young people. One, because of mass, the number of people that you need to serve. Right. And for those individuals or young people who enter into that system, a lot of the programming isn't really designed to assist them, especially when they're still going through adolescent development, right, trying to figure out who they are and really develop into their person. So I saw everything with my former employer everything from survival sex to survival marriage, and that's basically where, some of the young women would marry someone much older than them, with hopes that that individual would take care of them, just to see them even months later or maybe a year later being pimped out on the streets of Hollywood. I've seen domestic violence. I've seen the whole gamut. And these youth oftentimes get taken advantage of because they're in search of something. And that number one search is love and a caring adult. And anyone who could present that to, I say him or her, because him would be the gangs, her would be oftentimes a male counterpart. That's what they'll go after. And oftentimes it puts them in very vulnerable situations.
Absolutely. And you see the abuse mentally and physically
Absolutely.
that they wind up in.
Absolutely.
Wow. I do have another question for you, and this is something else that you and I have talked about. Describe a youth or adult that is in an unstable housing situation. I understand the physical aspect of it, and we kind of talked a little bit about the mental aspect of it, but what does it do to their self-esteem? That's the part that sometimes is overlooked also, because it creates an area where they start acting out. So the self-esteem, can you speak to that?
Sure. I say think of this way in the audience. If they could picture having a key, and having a key to something that they believe is to be their house, and you have this key and you walk up to the door and you're trying to use this key and you can't get in, and you're using it over and over with hopes that you could at least get in, have a stable place to stay, have some stability in order for you to get employed. Think about not having that access, what it means to not have access.
And to continually try to open the door with that key and not have entrance, no
absolutely.
access.
So it gets quite frustrating, for our youth and young adults. Many of them have to experience homelessness, whether it's sleeping in their car, sleeping in abandoned buildings, sleeping in back of school sites, or going from couch to couch, being unstably housed. Sometimes people don't think sleeping on a couch is being unstably housed. Really it is, because for many of these young adults, they could sleep on this couch today, but believe me, by 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning, someone's getting up telling them that they have to leave, and they don't have a regular fixed nighttime residence where they could say, hey, that's my home. That's going to be my stable place from now or over a certain period of time so I could get myself together.
Wow. Now, you describe your program. What are some of the services that you offer the young people through your program? What are some of the things that they can expect through your program?
So we do a variety of things at Sanctuary of Hope. We provide life coaching services. We provide mentorship. We provide financial assistance, where oftentimes many of our young people are coming in an emergency situation where we have to try to support them, whether it's sometimes providing rental assistance so they can move into an apartment quickly because they have some other forms of income coming in sight. Paying off bills, paying off tickets. We also have independent living where we house young women, and we also house young men in master leased units or apartments so that they're able to get back on their feet, enroll in school or a vocational program and save their money, and afterwards have the ability through their savings and the ongoing support that we've provided to transition into their own apartments, or many of them have transitioned on to four-year universities, which has been absolutely great for us. And then we do hotel motel vouchers, and then we also have what I call our emergency services, where we have young adults who they show up and say, hey, you know what, Miss Kelly, I'm hungry. There's nothing, I haven't eaten in the last couple of days, and we provide food for them so that we can meet their hunger needs. Because believe me, if they're hungry, there is nothing that I could do for them, because their focus and their mind attention is on what's going to nourish their soul.
Right.
And once I nourish their soul, then I could get to the next step.
Exactly, but feed them first.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
You know, everything you've said, it just covers such a wide array of needs in the youth community, because I don't want to say just cultural community, but this the youth community in general, and it's so broad. And if someone wanted to contribute and help you financially to continue your work, how would they contact you? How would they write the check? Where would they write the check to? And how could they help support what you're trying to do? Because I personally think that this is something that's been overlooked for too long, and we say it and it may sound corny, but our children are the future. Our young adults are our future. They are going to be the ones making the decisions for us when we get to an age where we're no longer in, doing this thing. So how would someone reach you and help support your cause?
Well, one of the ways that they could help support our cause is, of course, through a financial contribution. And if they go to our website, www.thesoh.org, and click on the donation or give back tab, that will provide all the information that they need, where they could either mail a donation or they can make an actual contribution online. But we also too have an Amazon wish list, and that's really centered around the needs of our youth, where we list things such as food on the go, food items, as well as clothing, brand new clothing that we need to really help our youth, because people don't really realize a fresh pair of undergarments. When I say fresh, brand new,
yes,
pair of undergarments go a long way with self-esteem, because many of them come in with one pair that they may have washed at a McDonald's, try to wring and dry off, and I've learned many of them. I didn't know this, but many of our young people were carrying towels, and I didn't understand why they were carrying towels, but it's because they would either go to like a McDonald's or any place that would have a public restroom. They would wash their one pair of undergarments, wring it in a towel to dry it off.
As much as it could be dried. So they could have something fresh. Wow.
And for us, just having those fresh undergarments to give when they need it is a self-esteem motivator.
Wow. And we these are things that we take for granted.
Oh, absolutely.
Take for granted. So to the listening audience, if you want to make a donation, and Janet, please say it again, because some people are running for their pens, like, oh, and then they get back and they go, oh, she finished. So please say it again.
Our website is www.thesoh.org.
And then Amazon?
And Amazon, we have a wish list. So if you type in Sanctuary of Hope, you'll be able to see our wish list.
Wow, and they can donate there.
Yes.
Wow, I love it. I got so many questions, and we only have an hour, but I really want to get as much understanding out there as possible so that people understand the depth of the need. Describe the impact of the children when they're going from, childhood to manhood, from being a boy to a man, and the girls are going from being, just a teenage girl to being a woman. And because there's no support system in place, what you get to listen to these conversations, what goes on in their minds?
I could tell you there's a number of things that go on in their mind. And I'm just going to use a conversation that I had yesterday with one of our young women. She was homeless. Her homelessness started at the age of 15. And that's because her mom became mentally ill and became really incapacitated, where she couldn't care for her. And so as a result of that, her brother and her younger sister, as well as her, all entered into the system, but she ran away. And so one of the things that she did to survive, or has been her survival mechanism, was even between 15 to 17, when she was like, Miss Kelly, I've worked so hard. She's like, even when I was homeless, I was sleeping on the street near the school, and I've had 2 other people with me. I managed to, and it's interesting when they use keywords. I managed to graduate and get my diploma, but what I'm missing is a connection to my family. My whole family is disrupted. She has to go back. Like, she wants to get her baby sister that's in the system,
yes,
and have her baby sister move in with her. Her brother, unfortunately, has become incarcerated. So there's nothing that she could really do, but she says, I need to be able to stabilize my life so that when my brother calls me, he's doing time. that I could at least send him a care package to make his life easier while he's serving time.
Wow.
To make his life easier
while he's serving time.
So you see the separation of herself, not
Right.
really thinking of herself, but for the next thing. And then the other thing she said was, which is a real common thing among our youth who especially have had an experience of homelessness, is I am still looking for the love to fill this hole inside of me. And she's like, and I don't know what that is. And although I'm talking to you about it, I can't explain to you what love is.
Yes.
Because I haven't experienced it.
You know, I've heard that in the work that I do also. They'll say to me, I don't know, it's almost foreign that there's this hole, but I don't know what that feeling is that's supposed to fill it because I've never experienced it. And that's more tragic than anything else, you know, because there are certain things you can fix. You can fix the homelessness. You can fix the need for food. But to fix that hole that's in their heart and that they're not even understanding what that emotion is supposed to feel like, to me, that's the saddest part.
Absolutely.
Wow. And Janet, how long have you been in business? How long have you been the executive director of the Sanctuary of Hope?
Well, I am the founder of Sanctuary of Hope.
I know.
We have been around, I would say we're now going on 5 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Can you imagine that?
Wow. And so how many young adults would you say have come through your program in the last 5 years?
So in the last 5 years, we've served over 250 young people. And it was interesting because when I was going through our numbers, when we first started, our first group was the first 10. And in every year, we've kind of like almost doubled the amount of youth and young people that we've served. And it's really because what we do is really centered around how do we create a nurturing, caring, and supportive environment for our young people that's non-judgmental. And our goal is really to, as life coaches, is to not dictate, but to help facilitate their goals and their aspirations. My whole thing is, like I tell all of our young people, once you write on paper your goals, that's your vision.
That's right.
So in order for us to see your vision manifest, you got to always go back to this and read it. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through this process, facilitate you getting where you need to go, because number one, you have to develop the cognitive reasoning skills in order to do it on your own. But then as a part of that process, you know how to make very good judgments because you're in control of your life, not Miss Kelly, you.
Right. And that gives validation.
Oh, absolutely.
It validates them and adds self-esteem where there was none, because then it becomes a partnership, not just this person dragging me through and telling me where to land. I'm in partnership with people who want to support me so that I can get to the place that I want to be. Absolutely. And that's a completely different space. And that's why I have you on the show, because I realize that your passion and compassion for youth is something that we are missing. Definitely. I think we're just kind of running past them, and we're so busy and caught up. And I'm just saying, just some people are so caught up in day-to-day life that we forget that there is a whole population of youth that need us because they are our future. So I want to publicly say thank you to you for all that you do, because I find it not just impressive, but I find it it's something that's needed. So thank you, Ms. Janet.
Thank you.
Another part of this is education. You were talking about education, and we briefly touched on that, but tell us about this College I Can service that you provide.
So College I Can is our college preparation, access, and retention program, and it's really geared towards those youth and young adults that are in transition. It's not purely for those individuals who are purely homeless or purely out of the child welfare system, but it's really for those young adults who are really thinking about going into college and having the necessary skill sets in order to retain. When I went about designing this program, I didn't want it to be the basic, okay, this is what you need to do with your, how to get financial aid. This is how you need to do your essays in order to get into a college. I wanted it to be fully comprehensive, because a part of going to college is having the skill sets to stay there, knowing not one, how to navigate the system, but to develop yourself mentally and emotionally to go as well. So there's certain expectations that are a part of that, and it's how do we empower our young adults prior to that, so that they're able to be successful. So we do everything, like I said, that most programs do, where we go over the financial aid piece. Mm-hmm. We also go over helping or assisting with the application process, including the application and the essay. And for those who have dropped out, because we have a lot of start and goes. I mean, that's very uncommon, especially when you're unstably housed.
Oh, yes.
It's very hard. But helping them get back on track and seeing what it is that led up to that process. So we help them pretty much along the way. And it's really, I would say for me, it's building the skills that they need around retention. Because we want our kids to go and we want them to complete. And like I tell a lot of them, you know what? You going for that AA degree? Complete it.
Exactly.
If anything, if you can't do that 4-year, complete the AA degree, because you know what employers like? They like to see that people have a goal and they can complete
that goal.
Something.
That's right. That's absolutely
Mm-hmm.
right. Because you're right. Looking at applicants, you're going to look at the ones who have set a goal and completed it. Because anyone who's completed something knows that things happen along the way. And you can't get distracted by those things. You have to keep moving in the right direction. That's great. Now, we kind of pulling this apart. And another part that we talked about is family and how important family is. And when you don't have a natural family, what do you do about that? Because we talked about this, and I teach a class, and I call it labels and characteristics, because sometimes we get sidetracked. Not just young adults, we get sidetracked by the expectation we have of other people that carry a label that can be consuming to the person that carries that label. So in your work, when these kids don't have a support system and you become their support system, what is that? How do you facilitate that part?
I wouldn't say it's more of a facilitate, because once they get to that, I mean, we become home. We
Right.
become kind of like what they've missed. And as I say, I treat them as if they were my own kids.
Right.
So, but it's interesting because many of them won't have a definition of family. Mm-hmm. And once they start seeing the care, the concern, and the love, then they start developing their thought processes around, oh, this is what family is. And I even tell them sometimes family is dysfunctional, because sometimes I could tell them something and they may not like it.
Right.
But then we'll come back and we'll say, okay, well, we could have a discussion about that, and you could tell me what it is that you don't like, and I could tell you why you were provided that suggestion. Because a lot of things that we do is very suggestive. And the ultimate goal of being suggestive is to ensure that they're able to think about, what it is that they're doing. And so that's how we kind of develop that whole family environment and network. And the reason why we call Sanctuary of Hope is we have a home that all of our young people can come back to. There is no hopelessness when you have hope, knowing that you have a home that you can come back to.
Yes.
And many of our young adults know that they could come back at any time. Our kids mess up, and a lot of programs out there, I mean, a lot of them are very good, be it that they may, but kids mess up.
That's right.
I mean, it's truly, they mess up. So just because they mess up doesn't mean that they need to be banned and they can't come back. I mean, they mess up, and sometimes it takes them a little bit of time to regroup, but you need to have that window or door open so that they can redeem themselves. Because redemption is really important, especially if you're talking about a youth or young adult that may have been a part of the probation system.
Right.
Because them having that opportunity over and over again, that whole redeeming approach, really not only builds their self-esteem, but it helps them deal with a lot of, I would say, life matters
Yes.
Helps them deal with the life matters much better, so that they're able to cope and they're able to sustain and be on their own.
Wow. So what you do, I find to have so much value, in addition to, because you're also teaching independent thought and helping them to, once they develop through education and, valuing themselves as a person, now we have this person standing in front of us who also has independent thought, and critical thinking is a major part of being successful, and instilling a value system in them that they may not have gotten in the different transitional situations that they've been in. What would you say is the average number of placements these children may have had?
I would say on average for us, for Sanctuary of Hope, on average, I would say many of them have had 8. But I have a young lady who's in our program right now, and she had 30 placements from the time that she entered into DCFS and she exited. And when I asked her, I said, 30 placements? I said, I've never heard of that. I said, out of all of the young people in our program. And she was like, Miss Kelly, yes, I did. All I did when I was in the system, I bounced and bounced and bounced, and that's why I smoke. So please stop asking me to stop smoking. And I said, oh. So I said, so your smoking is associated with you remembering how many times that you bounced? She says, yeah, sometimes. But she's like, but I have cut back. So I'm down from a pack of cigarettes to 5. So if I've made that step, then that's an accomplishment, Miss Kelly. And I was like, oh, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, it is a real good accomplishment. But if you can imagine,
wow,
always, and the way that she puts it is this. She's like, Miss Kelly, as soon as I put my head down on a bed, I always had my bag ready, because I didn't know, even if I was put there for that night, I was going to be there the next day. So I never unpacked.
So
never.
She lived out of her little suitcase or bag, because a lot of them
never unpacked.
Right. Because another thing is, a lot of them live out of those plastic garbage bags. Like, they'll have a plastic garbage bag that they're taking from place to place. There isn't even a suitcase in place.
Right. And it's interesting too, because a lot of them, when they get into our independent living program, some of them, it could take them up to 3 weeks or maybe even months before they start taking things out the bag. They may put everything in a bag and put it in we have these big, large closets and shelves. They'll put it all on the shelf, but they won't take it out and put it on a hanger, because they're not too sure whether or not we're real and this housing is really stable enough for them. And once they finally get to that point, it's like the baby steps. Once they finally get to the point, and you'll know you have a breakthrough when you see at least 2 or 3 items hanging up.
Right.
And then after a while, it's 3 or 4 items hanging up. And then it's like, we get donations. So if this really nice clothing, professional, they're going through the donations in there. Miss Kelly, how does this look on me? And then, hanging those up as well. So it's.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And those are things, like I said, you don't think about in your day-to-day life. As you're going through life, you don't think about the things that others go through. So I applaud you for being here and for doing what you do.
Right.
And I know there are people who now have their pen and piece of paper in their hand. Could you please give us the contact information so that those who want to support you in some financial way can? What is the information?
Yes. So our website again is www.thesoh.org.
And if they want to donate to that Amazon, they go to?
They could just go to Amazon and type in Sanctuary of Hope, and you'll see Sanctuary of Hope, and they'll say Los Angeles, and go through our wish list and see how they can contribute.
All right. So those of you who enjoy shopping, and everyone who enjoys shopping knows about Amazon, because we shop there. So please go to Amazon and do some shopping for other people. You'll get an even greater satisfaction for giving to someone who doesn't have. And when it comes down to something as we think insignificant as undergarments, something that we take for granted, that's a statement. So ladies and gentlemen, you will be surprised at what's on that wish list and how many of them you could buy during this holiday season, when people are the most emotional, to help someone else. And that I want to talk about that during the, I know I've been there, and we've done the Christmas tree and hanging the bulbs on the Christmas tree and that whole thing. And, you know, in that, what do you say is the spirit of the young adults that you deal with during the holiday season?
It is the hardest. I mean, I could tell you the hardest holidays. Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Father's Day.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and Christmas. Those 4 holidays are really hard for many of them, especially if they have no support system whatsoever. And oftentimes those days trigger trauma.
Right.
I mean, they are real trauma triggers. So one of the things that we always try to do during the holidays is try to make it festive. We decorate, whether it's for harvest, whether it's for the Christmas season or the spring. We constantly are decorating to give them a sense, like I said, a self-esteem booster and a sense of hope. And many of our young people will tell you that is the first time that they've ever celebrated anything.
Wow.
Anything.
That's amazing. And you guys do decorate, because I've been a part of that decorating process, and we've got ladders and stringing lights on the walls. Mm-hmm. And there was something you said that you probably don't even remember you said to me, because, you know, I get like I want things to be too aesthetically correct. And you said to me, Charlene, as long as it's from your heart, it doesn't matter. Right. Just do it. And so we had so much fun, and just hanging the lights and putting the garland on and all that kind of stuff for the holiday, because you're right. Everyone wants some place to be able to come back to, or what they can call home during the holiday season. So ladies and gentlemen, get that pen ready. Write that check to Sanctuary of Hope. You know, go to Amazon if you're a shopper and shop for someone else. You know, put something in that basket that will make a difference in someone else's life. Ms. Kelly, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
And with the College I Am, we're going to come back to when you're doing College I Am, what are some of the things that you see are a need for that program? Like, because I know you have colleges that come in and all of that. Could you kind of tell us, in that situation, in a perfect world, what would you need us as the public to do to help support you in that? Because education is very important.
Education is important. A lot of things that we need support on is taking these kids actually to campus. I mean, a lot of these kids have never set foot on a campus, or some of them who have set foot on a campus need to be re-invited again to that whole campus life experience, and having people that they could talk to. Another component that I didn't mention that's a part of our College I Can program is our digital literacy program. And as a part of that program, our young people learn everything about creating, culturally appropriate digital content. And our first cohort did a radio show around college access and the barriers to college access. And then our last group did a website around civic engagement. So the thing is, what we did was we invited people from the community to come out and talk about their experience, their college experience, and what made it a meaningful or challenging experience. And one of the things that we had with one of our speakers, which was really, really good, he said, you know what? I went into college and I took out all of these student loans. And when I took out my student loans, I could tell you, I don't know what I used them for.
Wow.
I don't know what I used them for. But when I left college, all I knew that I was $50,000 in debt, and I'm still paying them back. And a lot of times when our kids are entering, especially our foster care kids and our homeless youth, and they're not on a scholarship, it's money. Everyone wants to have access to money. So they'll take out a loan, they take out a personal loan, they take out this loan, that loan, and not realizing that this is money, one, that they got to pay back, but two, that they're using this money to treat a trauma that they have.
Right.
Because they need to have access to money because they think this money is going to be their ultimate stabilizer. And when they go to college, sometimes they take out the money, don't pay for the classes, and then what? They're back out on the street,
Right.
and they can't get back into get back into school, or they have holds on their educational records, and then they have their family that come out of the woodworks, their biological parents, the cousins,
Right.
this and that, and they're asking them for money. They don't want to say no, because if they think they say no, that it's something totally bad, and it's something that would be out of character for them, because that wouldn't be the loving thing to do. So they'll take out these loans and give them the money, and then they're left with nothing.
Right.
Nothing. So we go over that whole process of talking that through and invite members from the community to come in and share their experience around that, but also share how they can also use college as a catalyst to build wealth.
Yes. And let's talk about that for a moment, because you said something key in there when you talked about they use money to, validate themselves. They want to dress a certain way. They want to drive a car. They want all the things that everybody else wants. And, it's just, when is it appropriate to, incorporate a lot of this stuff into their lives? Because if they're taking out loans to do it that are going to have to be paid back, it's really, shifting them from what the focus should be onto something that maybe it shouldn't be at this point in their lives. Because everyone wants nice things. Everyone wants to own a home. Everyone wants to own a house, a car, dress nicely, all of that. But with that, it's, when is it appropriate? When do you do these things? And kind of slowing the process down, because, fast money. We talked about that too.
Yes.
Can we please talk about fast money and what that means in your world?
Well, fast money is a term that I use for all of our young people, because one, we're living in a society where, whether it's in the public medium or in things that they're reading, it's all fast. And a lot of our young people are stuck on what I call the fast money mentality. The first thing they'll say is, Miss Kelly, I need fast money. I need to be able to get money to do a lot of things, whether it's to meet a basic need, whether it's to move into housing, to support themselves. So fast money to them is trying to get, in essence, fast money. What's going to generate
Money quickly, really
Exactly.
quickly.
Because they don't have the means. I mean, the average young person earns less than $5,000 a year up until the age of 21.
No, okay, go back. Say that again. They earn what?
Less than $5,000 a year.
And these are young people who don't have a stable place to live. So a young person that's earning $5,000 a year and they're at home with their parents, that's one person. But to earn $5,000 and they don't have a home with parents to go to is a completely different. So how do you help them manage that?
So, but again, when we're talking about the whole mindset and the philosophy behind that is, can you imagine? So they're living on very small means.
Absolutely.
Very small means. That's not getting them anywhere. So they need something.
That's less than
quickly.
$500 a month.
So they need something quickly in order to sustain themselves. And oftentimes, because of that fast money mentality, they get stuck with, okay, well, I need fast money. Option for fast money is to sell drugs. Or another option for fast money is to become a pimp. Or it's another option, which we've seen in the past for fast money, is they'll start opening up a bunch of credit cards. And you'll see credit cards coming in through the mail, and you're like, and I'll stop them. I'll say, how's it that you have, I think these are 6 credit cards. I haven't opened your mail, but I just want to ask, are you getting credit cards? Well, what does well mean? Yes. So they're racking up these credit cards because, credit card companies give them credit cards. So they'll have $1,000 here, $1,000 there, $500 here, $500 there. So it becomes, that's their fast money fix access to it. But not knowing that, they're setting themselves up for credit card fraud.
Right.
Things of that nature. And so our ultimate goal is that we have to reposition them and reposition their thought process of how they think about money.
Right.
A lot of them have had the budgeting. A lot of them they know how to fill out, a check or a checkbook. But that doesn't deal with the fact that they associate money with their past trauma and needing money in order to validate who they are. So what do you do as a part of that? And that's one of the things that we're trying to work towards is how do we help them change their idea and mindset around this whole fast money mentality and make it in such a way where we could show them, yes, you could. It's great that you have that fast money mentality, right, but let's use what you think of that money to focus on how do we build wealth with
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because it's different. You know, mm-hmm. You don't want them to see that person or that guy on the corner who does have the car and the women and the jewelry and all of that, and they're doing things that are illegal to get to that. And you don't want them to think that is the road to go down, or that's who their role model should be. So you have to divert that. And that also, and we talked about this, takes members of the community who have become successful, who are, on the right side of the street, to come back and not just brag about and talk about, but to show, to guide, to say, I drove up in this car, but I didn't start with this car. I started over here. And if you want to stay out of jail, and if you want to have a life past 25 years old that is going to be good, these are the things you need to do. So I think it's a call to action for not just writing the check, but to see who you are as an individual and coming in to help the people that need it the most, which are our young adults.
Yeah, and also, when we talked about the other day, and I said, mm-hmm. If some of our young people, especially if they opted to be AB-12 or enter into extended foster care, come with some form of subsidy over a period of time.
Right.
So with that, and they get their chafee, some of them could leave with almost what I would say almost about $30,000.
Right.
So, but a lot of them blow through that money.
Right.
And they're not leaving with anything really tangible. But
right.
if they were able to see that maybe if I could take $800 I invested into stock, and someone
right.
really showed them how the stock market
works. That's right.
And how that would be a money
right.
multiplier.
That's right.
And another form of fast money.
Yes.
Then that would work.
Right, because there are things within the stock market. There's a drip campaign that people don't know about. A lot of people don't know about, where you can take $100 a month or $50 a month and put it in a drip campaign that will buy and build a stock portfolio for you, so that at the end of a certain amount of time, you have stocks and bonds in things that you want, and you can pick what those stocks are.
And that's something I didn't even know.
See, there's drip. Yeah. And so that's why you and I have been talking about this. There's also, it doesn't take, depending on what type of home you want. A lot of people don't know. I'm in mortgage banking. When they graduate from college, that is seen as a work history. So when they go into their job and they work for a certain amount of time, all of that time is accumulated, right? And there are programs that will assist them based on how much money they make, that will assist them in down payment assistance to purchase a home. So now they're a homeowner. They're in a position where they can house other people, right? And so those are the things that I think would help. And that's the outreach that I think is a part of this, so that people who do have that type of information can bring it to these young adults and spread that knowledge, so they understand that they're in a prime position because they have not acquired the bad credit or the bad history yet, that they are a clean slate and can build from there.
And then we have those that need to work past. How do we get them past their debt so that they
right.
can still move to wealth? Because a lot of them are still trapped by it. So how can we untrap them? But also, like I said, when we talk about like financial management,
mm-hmm.
financial literacy, it has to be meaningful for them
right.
in the context of a young person.
Exactly. It has to be real. It's not someone coming in saying, this is a checkbook and this is how you balance your account. Because they're like, okay, well, I don't have any money to put in the account, so they shut down. Or if they do, they go like $5,000 a year. Really, that's less than $500 a month. How do I manage that? When it's not enough to see me through an entire month. That's less than $10 a day, really.
Right.
So, wow. Another question I have for you. Give that address so that people can donate, where they can donate to again.
Great. Our web address is www.the
Say it again.
www.thesoh.org.
Okay. Another thing that we touched on a little bit is role models. Community role models, not even necessarily, I don't mean just in the community, but I mean role models who are willing to spend the time getting to know young people and giving them someone they can bounce information off of. How does that play into what you do?
Well, it plays in a lot of what we do. I would say almost 4 months ago, maybe it's been almost six months ago, through our South LA Homeless Day Foster Care Collaborative, we had a focus group with a bunch of our young people. And so when we asked them, what is it that you need the most? Like, what would be your top priority need? Mm-hmm. So, of course, those of us who are in the social service industry would think, oh, well, I need housing, I need education, I need, all these basic things that we think that they need. Mm-hmm. You know what the number one thing that they said that they need is? That? People.
See?
When we ask them, what is that? People. They need people that they could talk to. They need people that they could bounce ideas off of. They need people who could be a sounding board, who are not going to be judgmental. They're going to need people who genuinely, when I say genuine, I mean genuinely care about them and their ultimate success. And that goes a long way. Because I can tell you a lot of our service delivery is sometimes just sitting, putting my hand like this.
Under your chin and
under
listening.
my chin and listening. And that's all sometimes you can do. I use this example too. Sometimes I get a call. Almost a year ago. Oh, well, now 2 years ago. I had a young lady, 2:00 in the morning, called me. Well, Miss Kelly, although this may not be a success story, but this is just an example. Uh-huh. 2:00 in the morning, I was out drinking. I ran my car into a pole, and it's knocked over. What am I going to do? Right. She's screaming, she's crying on the phone. And I was like, look, dear, first of all, number one, what you don't do is you don't run.
Right.
Stay there, deal with the consequences. Do you have AAA? No, I don't have AAA. Well, I have AAA. So we could figure out if there's a need to get the car when the police show up. Just be there and be responsible, and be there when they cry it out, and be there when they have to deal with the consequences. Right. And they respect you more for that, because it's a matter of just having a person to be there.
Exactly. Wow. Having a listening ear. And we all have listening ears. So if you don't have a financial donation and you want to be a part of something now we're going to vet you and make sure for your reasons for coming into this situation. So let's put that out there too. We don't just allow anybody to come in and talk to the youth, and you will be vetted.
Right.
But if you do have a heart for children, young adults, I should say, and you don't have maybe the financial ability to contribute, you can contribute your time, your listening ear, and your heart to this wonderful, wonderful organization. And the holidays, like she said, are the hardest for them. So Christmas is coming up. That's why I was so intent on having you in, because, people who haven't donated their money for their end of the year cause can donate to Sanctuary of Hope, because you are a nonprofit organization. They can get a tax, credit for it. People who are looking for something to do for the Christmas holidays to give back, they can do this. I have people ask me, well, what are you and your family doing for Christmas? I said, me and my family have everything that we need. We may not have all of our wants, but we have all of our needs. Right. So what we need to do is give something to someone who may be able to appreciate it more than we would. So if you have a heart, you have something to give. So please look into the Sanctuary of Hope. Help these young adults become the great adults that they want to and aspire to be. All they need, like she said, is a listening ear, a meal in some cases, a new pair of underwear in other cases, and just someone who can support them through wherever they are to help them get to where they would like to be. Instead of the penal system, we see what that has produced. And it becomes a revolving door where they're in and out. And, people judge so deeply our youth, and oh, they act this way or they're acting that way, but we're not looking in the mirror and seeing what's causing that. I think that we need to take a greater look at ourselves and what we have to offer. There's no excuse. You can help. If it's not financial, it's emotional. You have something to give, so please do give. And I'll stand down off my soapbox. And Janet, another thing we talked about is the value system of young adults and how they sometimes are almost panicked, by the lack of money in their situation, and how that just plays into everything they do. And you said yesterday that you there was a conversation you said you had, and they were talking about even their life expectancy, how that's valued. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So when I talk about we're a sounding board,
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes we are a real sounding board for you. So yesterday we were talking about the whole Ferguson and Garner case, and it was primarily our young male youth of color, and they were talking, and one of our youth said, I might as well stop living now. And just the fact that there is no sense of living beyond today. Right. So many of them are just getting by day. And when he said, what, I shouldn't expect to get married. I shouldn't expect to have any kids. I mean, there's no life expectation, one, because of how they feel that the media is either valuing them. So, just even by listening, it's kind of like for us, our role is to figure out, well, how can we empower them to feel like their life matters and that they can live and that they need to live and that they're an important part of our whole ecosystem in order to live. So, it's just very, very interesting. And then I think I shared with you the whole thing about one of our young people were talking about religion and how, religion has been, for the lack of a better word, not a good experience for them, right. Especially when he used the parable of Jesus. He said Jesus was homeless. Jesus walked, and no matter where he went, he had a place to stay. But for many of our young people, like him, if he's out on the street, it's not like he could walk somewhere and he has some place to stay.
That's right.
And
because if a young person knocks on your door and says, "I'm hungry," how many people would feed them?
Right.
How many people would call the police? I need a drink of water. I'm hungry. I don't have any clothes to wear. I'm cold. Who would really get that knock on the door and answer it in the way that it should be answered?
Right. And there was an interesting film piece, documentary that was out, and it was one of the most compelling pieces for me to help me even to put even more into context what our young people go through. But in there was this one young kid, he had a twin brother, and they ended up in the foster care system, lost their parents. But the interesting part of that was when he said, when we got down into like the DCFS or the child welfare system, we called every family member and no one came. We called everyone in our family and no one came. That to me was so profound. I mean, it resonated so much in my spirit. And if you think about it, for many of them,
mm-hmm.
I mean, they rely on so many people, and a lot of times we don't show up.
That's right.
So there's a problem with us as individuals, whether we're family members, individuals in society, and even some of us who are part of our faith community. We're not showing up
right
when they need us the most.
Well, I had a very wise woman say to me, if everyone took one of their family members who aren't doing well and just helped them, we wouldn't need a system. People are just not showing up. That's amazing. Please give your information again. And the reason I ask you to do this is because I feel it's important that people figure out that there's something you can do, and here's a place you can do it, starting with our youth. So please give your contact information.
So our contact information again is www.thesoh.org.
And Amazon, I'm going to keep sticking that out there for all you shoppers. Go to Amazon and do what?
just type in Sanctuary of Hope in the search bar, and you'll be able to see our wish list.
Wonderful. The Christmas holidays are coming up. Let's make this a very Merry Christmas for our youth. Let's show them that we care about them, that we love them, that we can use that word, that 4-letter word, LOVE. Let's put that into action. You know, those of us who claim Christianity or whatever religion we say we are, or even the lack thereof, compassion is a part of all of that. It's universal. We are here to help other people. And these aren't just other people. These are our youth. These are the young people we walk by every day. We see them on the train. We see them crossing the street. We see them trying to get to the places they need to go. And we need to have the compassion, the heartfelt compassion to write the check, make the offer, volunteer, do our part to help them. And Ms. Kelly, you are absolutely wonderful. Janet, I've, interacted, and I can say I'm happy to know you as a person, a human being. And I thank God for the compassionate people like you who you could be doing anything. We didn't go into your education. We didn't go into your experience as a person, but for you to and you have a family of your own. You are a mother of children, and you take on this huge responsibility of showing the love and compassion and giving these young people a place to come back to, or to live, or to experience. And I say thank you for all of us who haven't done that. I say thank you, and I say we need to support you. So give them that information one more time, girl.
Thank you so much again. Our contact information is www.thesoh.org.
Absolutely. And on the lighter side of things, if decorating is your thing, and Lord knows I love it, I'm not that good at it, but if decorating is your thing and you want to buy decorations or Christmas presents, you can do that too. I mean, whatever you have to give and offer. If you're great at decorating, if you're great at tying bows, I know when I have my Mother's Day event, I have ladies in there who are great bow tiers, and they just make the gifts look so pretty, and the presentation is so wonderful. Whatever you have to give as your God-given talent, give that for these young people. Just give that. One other thing, how many children are you housing right now? How many young adults, I should say? I keep calling them children. They're not children anymore, which is why there's a problem. Young adults, how many young adults are you housing?
We have over 22 young adults that are being housed in physical locations, but we also, like as I mentioned before, we provide temporary rental assistance, which is really a shallow subsidy program where we pay a little bit towards their rent until they're able to kind of get back on their feet and stabilize. But that changes, that part of it fluctuates period through period, and that really depends on how much funding that we have that's available. But we do that, and like I said, the other part of our services, really the other core part, is people who come in and they need food, or they're accessing our education support services, or accessing our life coaching services. So even up to this date, on average, we serve about 78 young people a year. We're already into November. December now. We've already done 70 young adults already, and we've just pretty much I hate using the word we've exceeded our capacity. It's just that the need has been much more, and as more people know that, they could come to Sanctuary of Hope, they could be in a nurturing, caring environment.
It's going to attract more people.
Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah, because when you attract more, but when you're doing good and you attract more, you need the capacity to be able to do more.
Yes.
And so I want you to we're almost out of time, but I want you to give that contact information one more time so we can get that out there.
Our contact information is www.thesoh.org.
Thank you. And also, another thing I'd like you guys to understand is that we need helping hands. I can't say that enough. We need not just money, which money is great, and as much of it as you can give, please do. We need gifts for these young people, so as many times as you can go to Amazon and pick something up, that's great. Gift cards are wonderful, Starbucks cards, Bath and Body Works, any
Subway.
of the Subway is a big one. They have to eat lunch, so Subway cards are great. So thank you, Janet, for coming on. I really appreciate you being here. I do. You are wonderful. Love you guys out there. Please donate to this cause. It's a wonderful cause, and thank you so much, Janet, for coming in. You're my sister. I love it. Thank you so much. Wonderful cause.